What's up, guys? I have a little bit of a different video today. I've been wanting to branch out on the content because I'm really just running out of ideas when it comes to just talking about games and what I like about them. A lot of the games I've been playing recently are kind of old, so there's nothing I really have to add on or say about them, so I've been just kind of at a stalemate. Recently, I found a little bit of an opportunity to make a different video for you guys, talking about PCs and stuff, and I know if you guys come to my stream, you know how passionate I am about PCs and stuff, so this is the first opportunity I'm going to get to show you guys that I know anything. I decided to change out my PC cases recently, and I really wanted to show you how easy it can be to build a PC for the first time, or again, to change it out from one case to another, because it's basically building a computer. There's a little bit of a hiccup that I'll explain later, but it's really easy and I can show you pretty much everything. I've had this case for a few years and I wanted to go back to it because the Corsair 5000D or 5000X, I'm not even sure the name of that I have in the beginning of the video, is just too big. It was literally 2 foot tall and like 2 foot long, so I really couldn't handle it taking up my entire room. I went for the more modest one that I had tucked away in my closet, the Corsair 4000D Airflow that I actually started with when I built this computer way back when. I started off by taking out the graphics card, which obviously it's one of the easiest things to change out in a computer or take out in any way. Pull out a 6-pin and an 8-pin for the RTX 3070 like I have here, and then you unscrew 2 bolts and done. It's also one of the very few things you have to remove off the motherboard to even take it out. This is a really good time to maybe blow out your GPU if you have any canned air, or like I have, like a little vacuum, where you can get all around it instead of having to get the awkward angles you have to get at usually when it's fixed in place in the actual case itself. I also went ahead and unplugged all the power supply connectors from the motherboard, like your 24-pin, 2 6-pin CPU connectors. I wanted to remove the power supply as fast as possible so it wouldn't be in my way while I was working on it. It's constantly going to be me trying to set it off on its side and maybe stand up and get to the rear panel, and it's just really annoying. You have cables just kind of flopping in the background. It's kind of hard and you can really damage it if you're not careful. So I went ahead and just unbolted the power supply, ripped it out real quick, and it was an easy thing to do. I also have a Corsair fan hub, so I needed to unplug all of my case fans from this. It has a bunch of RGB connectors and then your normal standard 4-pin case fan connectors. Now, I do have a ton of fans, and I know you can't really distinguish anything that's happening right here, but I'm literally just, I don't know. I can't even show you. I'm just mumbling curse word. Can't even reach or see myself in person, so it's really not my shitty iPhone's fault that it can't pick it up. I could pick it up at all. Now, once I moved on to the motherboard, unfortunately I have an AIO, so I have to remove the entire CPU block and the AIO before I can even remove the motherboard. I've seen people do it where they don't have to remove it, but it's just, it looks like I'm gonna break something, so I just went ahead and removed the AIO completely. Usually I start off by removing the radiator itself and setting it off on the ground right under the case, because the tubes, it's less stressful on them, I feel like, to do that than like have the block hanging with thermal paste all over it, where I'm trying to be careful with it and not get thermal paste everywhere and on my motherboard. So I took the radiator out. Obviously the case fans had already been unplugged from it, but if you don't have a Corsair IQ hub, make sure that you unplug your fans. Once you pull the radiator out, just kind of be gentle with it. Don't put stress on the tubes and stuff. I always feel guilty about doing that. You don't want to pull on it too hard so you pop one of those fittings off as well. Then I have to remove my AIO block, which also, again, I have to replace the thermal paste, which sucked. I just put this thermal paste on 1 week ago because I was having some heating issues, and now I removed it. So just get prepared. Get the cotton ball and some alcohol and clean it off. If you have an air cooler, you won't run into this. Just forewarning, I know some people may get a little confused about that, but the only reason I have to remove the AIO is because it's literally connecting itself to the chassis. So it's like, I have to remove it. There's no way. It's too much of a headache not to. Now that it's just the bare motherboard with the CPU still in and the RAM, obviously those are really easy to take out and put in themselves, but I don't have to in this case scenario. Unscrew all the screws that are holding the motherboard in and then just set it off into the next case. Luckily, mine has a built-in ISO shield. If you don't know what that is, it's a little piece of metal that's on the back of your motherboard where your USB connector is and all that keeps you from just jamming it in between everything. Mine has a built-in one, so I didn't have to do the annoyance of installing one. If you guys have built computers before, you know how annoying that is. Also, what's really nice about both these cases is it has a motherboard standoff that's basically just a peg. It allows you to kind of just set the motherboard where it needs to go, and it'll kind of set on that peg. It'll line up all the bolts for you, and again, it's one less screw to have to screw in. Once you're done reinstalling the motherboard into the new case, I like to go in reverse. Now it's time for the radiator and CPU block. I started off by cleaning off the thermal paste that I had just ruined. It's like breaking the seal. You can't just put it back on there. Reapply rice grain, or again, some Intel CPUs, I'd recommend applying like more of like a line, maybe an X, depending on whatever you prefer when it comes to thermal paste, because I know there's like a million different methods for it. I like the rice grain for my Ryzen 7600 because I don't want it to get messy and get in those little open parts on these new AM5 CPUs. They're not just a perfect square. They have these little shapes and stuff like that cut out of them. I don't know why they do that, but just be gentle with the thermal paste. Once you're done with that, what I like to do is I like to plug in all my front panel connectors. Like, now I gotta say, at this point in the video, I did forget to have an iPhone, and it ran out of storage during the recording of this video. I lost like 30% of the footage, so I have to use PC Building Simulator to show you what all I did. So this is just all I can do for you. Once you get all that moved over, this is a good time to put in your GPU again. Obviously, I know I took that out first before taking out the power supply, but I like to go ahead and get everything in place for when I put the power supply in, because I'm going to tuck away all the cables and make sure they're tidy, so I want to go ahead and like do that. I start off from the top left and work my way down when it comes to plugging in the connectors and stuff like that. First thing I did was I plugged in my CPU power, which mine takes 2 6-pins, so it really wasn't that hard. I could kind of get my fingers between there and plug it in. I did the 24-pin connector. This is going to be scary to unplug and plug in both times. You got to make sure it's plugged in good, but just don't push too hard, because you can kind of like crack your motherboard if you push too hard and don't actually put your finger kind of behind it and push on it. But also don't put it behind it, because you can short it out. There's a lot to do. Just do whatever works for you, basically, when it comes to this. This is a survival. This is survival at this point. Then I plugged in my 6-pin and my 8-pin for my GPU. I like to kind of tuck them under the 24-pin in the back of the case, but I can't really show you that, obviously, because I'm just playing a video game. Then I run the SATA power with the Corsair fan hub and a hard drive that I forgot to show you guys me taking out and re-putting in. At this point, you're pretty much done. Done everything that I can really think of. You've reinstalled the GPU, motherboard, CPU, RAM, everything's good. Also, I recommend checking your RAM and making sure that you didn't accidentally press one of the little notches. I accidentally did that, and I had released my RAM a little bit. My PC kept blue screening for some reason, and I replaced the motherboard watch battery because I thought it was a CMOS problem, but then I actually realized, oh, one of the RAM sticks are like not all the way seated, so keep that in mind if you do this. It took me about a total of 2 hours to do this all the way through, and not rushing, trying to do anything faster than it really needs to be. Take your time if you do this, and if I can do it, you can do it. I just kind of ran out of video ideas, so I'm sorry that this is kind of what it was made, honestly. I know I'm missing a lot of footage, and I had to put on PC Building Simulator, which is kind of awkward, but I think it also added a little bit of funness to it. I've been thinking about doing a little bit more funny moments kind of stuff on this channel too. And maybe doing stuff like this that involves PCs and maybe some more of my extra hobbies like painting or maybe working on cars, guitar, anything you guys would really like. If you guys like this video and you guys show enough support, maybe I can do more styles of these videos and stuff like that. And this one is a little sloppy, but it's only 99 cents.